I, Karishma from Vidya Bal Senior Secondary School is going to teach you about phrases and clauses. What are phrases and clauses? Okay, let's begin with phrases first. Can you see certain group of words which we have written on the board? Okay, let's read it. First is under the tree. Second, in the car. Third, on the table. Okay, these are group of words. It is making some sense. But is it giving you complete meaning? What is under the tree? What is in the car? What is on the table? Do you know about it? No, we don't know anything. So these are phrases. Phrases are basically group of words which we use within a sentence to make its meaning clear. Then only it will give a complete meaning to you. Okay? Now let's use these phrases in some sentences. Okay, first, a boy is sitting under the tree. Here we are getting who is sitting under the tree? A boy is sitting under the tree, right? So here we are getting the complete meaning because we have used a phrase within a sentence. Now second, a book is kept on the table. Now we have got what is kept on the table? A book is kept on the table. Third, a lady is sitting in the car. Who is sitting in the car? A lady is sitting in the car. So here we are getting the complete meaning. Now, what is a phrase? Phrase is something in which we use group of words which we use in a sentence to make its meaning clear. Understood? Okay. Now, this was the first rule of phrase. What was the first rule? That it is used within a sentence to make its meaning clear. Now, what is the second rule? Second rule is phrase can be used at the beginning, in the middle or in the end of a sentence. It can be used anywhere. Now, let's see how. First, we have used the phrases in the end of sentences, right? Now, we will see how we can use the phrases in the beginning of a sentence. Like here, eating an ice cream is a real joy. Okay, eating an ice cream is a real joy, is it? Yes, I know. Okay, here we have used the phrase eating an ice cream in the beginning, right? Now next, a cheetah, the fastest animal, can run 70 miles an hour. Okay, so here we have used the fastest animal in the middle, which is a phrase, right? So it is proved that a phrase is something which we can use in the beginning, in the middle or in the end of a sentence. This was our second rule. Okay, what is the third rule of phrase? Now the third rule is that a phrase may contain a subject or a verb, but it is not necessary that all the time it has to contain a subject or a verb. Like here we have used the phrases, right? But here we have not used any subject or verb in these phrases, right? So we can use the phrases without a subject or a verb, and it can also contain a subject or a verb. Like I have taken two examples. The old man. Okay, the old man is your subject, right? It doesn't have any verb, but still it is a phrase. Okay, now next is ran fast. Who ran fast? We don't know, and ran is our verb here. So phrases can contain subject or verb, but it is not necessary that it always contains a subject or a verb. It can also make sense without a subject or a verb. But how we can use a phrase? A phrase is always used within a sentence, right? So whenever anyone will ask you what is a phrase, what will you say? A phrase is a group of words which we use within a sentence to make its meaning clear and so that the sentence makes a proper sense, right? Hope you understood about phrases and you will use all these three rules whenever you will write the phrase. Clear? Now we will learn about clauses. What are clauses? First, let's see one example. My mother bakes delicious cake. Let's read it again. My mother bakes delicious cake. So here subject is my mother. Subject is, what is the subject? Doer of an action. Whosoever performs an action is your subject. Okay. And bakes delicious cake is the predicate. What is the predicate? When we are talking about subject, whatever we are talking about the subject, like who bakes a cake? My mother bakes delicious cake. What she does? She bakes delicious cake. So whatever the subject is doing, that will be your predicate. Whenever we are telling something about subject, about the person, that will come under predicate. So here we are having both subject and predicate. So now the clause is something which has both subject and a predicate. As you know, each clause has a subject and a predicate. Here, let's read this example once again. My mother bakes delicious cake. Here we are getting both subject also and predicate also. So this is clause. This is a clause. Now we are having two parts of clauses. One independent, second one dependent. One is independent and second is dependent. And dependent clause is also known as subordinate clause. Now why is it called dependent and why is it called independent, that we will learn. Okay, in independent clause it makes complete sense on its own. How do you say that one person is independent? Because it doesn't need any help of anyone, right? So that's why there are certain clauses which doesn't need any help from anyone. Even if we use one clause, that is sufficient. Okay, let's take one example. I love eating cookies. I love eating cookies. Here subject is, yes, I love eating cookies will be your predicate, right? So here we are getting both subject and predicate, and here we don't need anything to complete itself. It is completing in itself, right? I love eating cookies. So this is your independent clause. This is your independent clause because it doesn't need any help. It is making complete sense by its own. Now let's talk about dependent clause, which is also known as subordinate clause, right? Okay. Dependent clause is something which needs help of other words. Like, and let's take the example. I can't play as it's raining outside. Here the dependent clause is as it's raining outside. What is the dependent clause here? As it's raining outside is your dependent clause, as it needs the help of I can't play. Okay, then only it can complete its meaning. It cannot stand alone on its own. We need some connecting words to make a clause, proper clause to give meaning to it. Okay, and which are the connecting words in English? And, but, because, unless, as, all these are connecting words which we also called conjunctions, right? We call it conjunction. So whenever we are using conjunction, that will be dependent clause. Okay, like here we have used here we have used a conjunction. For example, I can't play as it's raining outside. Which is the conjunction here? As, right? So here we have used conjunction, and that means we need some connecting word to complete itself, right? So it cannot complete if we don't use any connecting word. So that's why we call it a dependent clause, subordinate clause. Okay, now what we have learned in this class? We have learned about phrase and we have learned about clause. What is a phrase? As I told you, phrases are group of words which is used within a sentence, right? And what are clauses? Clauses are something, they are also group of words, but they do have a subject and a predicate. Without a subject and predicate, there will be no clause in it. Okay, and it is of two types, dependent and independent. And dependent clause is also known as subordinate clause, right? I hope you have understood phrases and clauses very well. Okay, nice. Okay class, thank you so much.